Welcome to this special episode of our podcast from the Energy Consortium at IIT Madras. In this series, we will dive into cutting-edge research and innovations that are going to be shaping the future of energy, sustainability, and climate action. The Energy Consortium is a collaborative platform bringing together researchers, industry leaders, and policy makers to address global energy challenges through multidisciplinary solutions. In this episode, you will hear from specialists in energy. So let's get started. Dr. Rahul Muralidharan is a research and development specialist with the Energy Consortium, focusing on the intersection of energy, environment, and sustainability. His work emphasizes developing governance frameworks that drive better environmental outcomes, particularly in the context of marine governance and multi-SDG strategies. Hello, Dr. Rahul. Thank you for taking the time to speak with me today. To start with, could you introduce yourself and tell us about your role at the Energy Consortium?
I'm Rahul Muralidharan. I'm a research and development specialist at the Energy Consortium. My role is to support research projects within the consortium, develop new areas of research and collaboration opportunities, contribute to proposals, identify funding opportunities, and produce outputs in the form of scholarly publications, reports, and white papers that help stretch the boundaries of research that the Energy Consortium is currently pursuing. We also try and use the summer internship to explore new areas to see if we can build on them and make it into a program. As part of this role, I also contribute to teaching and developing modules for various sustainability-oriented courses.
Your research spans critical areas of sustainability. Could you elaborate on your main area of focus?
My research lies at the intersection of energy, environment, and sustainability, with a focus on developing governance frameworks that foster better environmental outcomes. I examine how governance mechanisms can navigate the tension between economic growth and environmental protection, particularly in the context of sustainable business practices and the evolving landscape of marine renewable energy development in India. A key thread running through my work is the exploration of how governance structures can be made more equitable and just, both in energy transition as well as ensuring the expansion of India's blue economy that not only benefits economic stakeholders but also local communities and ecological systems. So conceptually, my research explores how governance institutions navigate uncertainty and complexity in marine environments, as oceans are inherently dynamic with ecological, economic, and social processes that often defy fixed management approaches. So I investigate how institutions can help develop flexible governance frameworks that respond to emerging challenges by incorporating scientific knowledge, local insights, and stakeholder engagement. My work contributes to the broader discourse on sustainability as well as the role of governance in fostering resilient and sustainable futures.
Sustainability challenges are often interconnected. Why do you think it's important to consider multiple sustainable development goals at the same time rather than addressing them individually?
So I'll actually respond to this question through an example. For example, when it comes to renewable energy, particularly marine renewable energy, let's take offshore wind. It is essential to think beyond SDG 7, which is affordable and clean energy, because these structures are going to be situated in the sea and it has multidimensional impacts that intersects with several other sustainable development goals, including SDG 14, which is life below water, economic growth and employment, which are SDG 8 and 9, community livelihoods, which is SDG 1, which is to reduce poverty, climate action, which is to decarbonize, SDG 13, as well as sustainable consumption, which is SDG 12. And also, like, to achieve all this, we need partnerships, which ties up with SDG 16 and 17.
Are there any specific projects you are currently working on that highlight this interconnected approach?
So I work on 4 broad projects. One is something that I've been working ever since I joined here, which is to develop ESG frameworks, environment, social, and governance frameworks for the MSME sector. So right now, ESG is mandated for larger companies, but due to regulations that are developing, even MSMEs will come into the fold, but they don't have the capacity or the resources to report their sustainability like the larger companies do. So we have tried to develop a simplified framework, yet robust, through which they can help that will help them report their sustainability metrics. So I've been also working on offshore wind related projects. We've completed a project on offshore wind offtake risk, as well as we recently completed a project on marine spatial planning, which we collaborated with the Danish Energy Agency in terms of identifying what are the environmental and the social needs for developing offshore wind energy in the coast of Tamil Nadu. As part of the larger marine spatial planning work, we also conduct stakeholder dialogues, which we are planning to do in the next couple of months. Right now, we are developing a project on decarbonizing fish supply chains, which is somewhat new in the context of India, which also ties up with the interest of the Energy Consortium as well as my own personal interest. Apart from the Energy Consortium, I also collaborate with other faculty in IIT Madras, and I'm part of the project, the Indian Council for Social Science Research, where we are exploring artificial reefs and early warning systems among the Bay of Bengal communities in India.
Marine governance is a relatively underexplored yet critical area of environmental policy. Could you elaborate on what marine governance entails and why it is particularly important for India at this moment?
So, marine governance, refers to frameworks or rules, policies, institutions, and processes through which decisions about the use, management, and conservation of oceans are made, involving multiple actors, all trying to balance competing interests like economic development, environmental protection, and social justice. In the context of India, we have a vast coastline as well as a dense population that is directly dependent on marine resources. We also live in a biodiversity-rich tropical country where there are multiple critical ecosystems that not just support livelihoods, but also it acts as a buffer against climate-related impacts. And right now, as you know, the diversification of ocean spaces are happening under the blue economy, that it requires like sound governance for managing these diverse activities, as well as how do we ensure that the activities that are done in the oceans are sustainable. And we are also going to already facing climate related impacts. And in 2024, there was a paper on Indian Ocean released by the Indian Institute of Tropical Meteorology, which says that the Indian Ocean is going to remain in a near permanent state of heat wave, meaning like we are going to have like 200 to 250 days of heat wave conditions prevailing in the Indian Ocean, which means that we are going to have intense cyclones and tropical storms that are going to like affect us. And as you know, like a city like Chennai, a lot of people are living on the coastline, who can be directly impacted. But when we have ecosystems like mangroves and coral reefs that help buffer these impacts, it is helpful for us, to move towards a more sustainable way of doing governance. And finally, we have also signatories to many conventions and global conventions and treaties, and we need to fulfill the promises that we've made to these conventions. And in that context, I feel like marine governance is very important to India in this particular juncture as we move towards diversifying the ocean spaces as well as addressing the impacts of climate change.
Thank you, Dr. Rahul. I appreciate your time and insights and look forward to following the progress of your work.